Greetings, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Decision Hour. I am your host, Adam Bird, and I have a very special guest lined up for you today. I was, recently introduced and was surprised. She reached out to me on the old interwebs, I believe it was. Had a couple of conversations, some exchanged text messages, and then I get this little package in the mail, and it's this little book called Lucky. Little Guy, Big Mission. And that's all I'm going to tell you right now because I'm going to let our guest explain what this is all about. So without further ado, my new friend, Eileen Doyon, how are you?
I am awesome and very honored to be here today, Adam. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. So I'm sitting here. Those of you that you can't see us, guys, but I'm in my hand. I'm holding this book. And it's got these two little dogs, and it looks like a double amputee on it. And I see your name on this. Why don't you first off, let me back up. Tell our listeners a little bit about you, and then we'll get into the good stuff here. So.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Well, I'm originally from upstate New York, and I left home and started my career and, was pursuing getting things, as most people do in their career, getting things. And there's a reason for me saying that. But anyways, it was doing my thing and lost my mom and my brother in my early 20s. And no one really teaches you about death, how to handle it, how to work through it. So you just kind of plug along. And so it was just kind of me and my dad. And my dad was diagnosed with lung cancer, and he passed in 2011. And my dad was everything to me, and I was everything to my dad. And it just tore me apart, tore my heart out. And anyone that has had anyone that has died from cancer, it's a horrific, horrific disease, and we're working on it. But anyways, I knew I was really bad mentally, and I knew that I needed some help. So what did I do? I Googled it. What do you do? How do you overcome this? Because I had never really grieved when my mom and my brother died, because I was in my early 20s, I was in my career. So all I did was dive into my career and worked all the time. And so when my dad died, I Googled it, and it said to write in a journal. I did that for about 2 weeks, and I got bored, and I said, well, I'm not cured. This is a waste of my time. What's next? Right. So somebody said, you should write a book. So I said to my husband, Danny, I'm going to write a book about my dad. And then he looked at me, he said, great idea. And I said, no one's going to read it but you and I, right? And he said, probably not. And I'll tell you, Adam, why I wanted to write a book about my dad. My dad was a Marine. He quit high school and fought in World War II. His other three brothers had enlisted into the war, but he was the only one that saw battle. His boots actually hit Iwo Jima when he was 17 years young. And he was there for 31 days, and it was only supposed to be a battle that lasted for tops 48 hours. Right. And it was the bloodiest battle seen by U.S. soldiers. And I am embarrassed to somewhat tell you that, because I never knew that until 3 months before he died. Because when the Greatest Generation came home, they never talked about the war. Right. We just never did. It was the way of our life. They never, they started their own business. They had a family, and they just moved on. And my husband and I, we live in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, and we have a PUPPIES Air Force Base literally right in our backyard. I love to watch all the military planes. But anyways, it's usually the very last stop before soldiers go overseas, or the very, one, and just it is so inspirational. It is just an incredible thing that they do over there, and we're part of that. So I tell you that to say, my husband and I are very veteran oriented. We try to thank veterans. We try to do as much as we can, because of everything that they do. And thank you so much for your service as well. So I decided to write a book, and I reached out to my girlfriends that I went to high school with. And I said, hey, I'd like to do a book tribute to dads from their daughters. And they were saying, hey, that's great. So moving it up a little quicker. So I decided to do it, and I got so much feedback from my friends about doing the book and what it meant to them. And, and I remember going to the cemetery and, putting the book down on my father's headstone and saying, I did this for you. And I was looking for a purpose at that time. And I said to my husband, I think I might have an idea here. I'd like to continue on and write another book about a different topic, which was keepsakes, treasures from your heart, because we all get things from people that have passed that mean something, whether it's a vase or a picture or a flag on your wall. You never know where that comes from, but you think of that person. So long story short, I ended up doing 8 books. I did 4 with a self-publisher, and then I decided to go out on my own and do it myself. But it's part of my personality. If you somewhat haven't picked up on that, I like to do it myself. And I had a marketing person that worked for me part-time, and I just said, hey, Kirsten, what do you think? Can you do this? And she said, I'll try. And I said, I think we're smart enough. We'll figure it out.
Right.
And we did. And my most recent book, my last book that I did myself, was Patriots of Courage, Tributes to First Responders, which I was so honored because I met so many people. And that's where I met David Bray. He actually wrote a story in my book. And the people that I met on LinkedIn and or Facebook, just around, firefighters, Army, Navy, just everyone that was out on the front lines, EMTs. And I was just saying to my husband, I'm on a road. I don't know where my road is going to lead, but I have a purpose. There's something that I'm supposed to do here. And I just kept looking and watching and looking and watching. And right after my book was released, my husband found out he had prostate cancer. And he had come out with a premixed cocktail drink that same year, and lots of things were going on. So I said, you know what, I'm going to take a little bit of a break from doing books myself. I'm going to help my husband, help him with the marketing side of his cocktail drink, and then we'll figure out his cancer situation, and then I'm going to look for my purpose. And so he was fine with the prostate cancer. That's all under control. And I was watching Steve Hartman on Facebook feed, and he was interviewing Christy Gardner. And I had met Christy Gardner. She had written a story in my book, Pet Tales, about her service dog, Moxie. She's an Army veteran, double amputee, and she plays sled hockey. And she actually formed a team in New England called the New England Warriors. Right. And I'm not sure if people listening know what sled hockey is, but people actually get in this bucket, and it has a one blade underneath it, and you have sticks with like ice picks at the end, and they play sled hockey. Some people have no legs. Some people have one arm. Some people, there's just all veteran oriented that play. So anyways, we used to travel around and see her periodically in Maine, New Hampshire, and Massachusetts. And so I was watching Steve Hartman do this interview about Christy, and I said, oh, what's up with that? Because we had stayed in touch, and this was 2014, and here it was now 2019. And all of a sudden, I saw this video, and it was Christy. She just started getting into training puppies for veterans and first responders, right, because she will tell you that she probably would have committed suicide if it wasn't for her service dog. Her service dog saved her life. So I'll probably cry here, and she said that she wanted to help others turn around like what Moxie did for her. Right. So she went to the breeder, and the breeder had this puppy, and the puppy was born with a club front paw. And of course, a breeder, no one wants the puppy. It's not worth any money to the breeder. And the medical bills were going to be so extensive, they were thinking about euthanizing the puppy. And Christy said, I can't do that. I wasn't euthanized when I came home with no legs. I can't do that. I want to take the dog, and I'm going to train the dog to be a therapy dog for a school. So the breeder agreed to that. And, here you see this little puppy and, running around with, this club paw, but he didn't know he was different.
Right.
He didn't know. So, and it's okay to be different.
Right.
And they ended up calling the dog Lucky, which you have to buy the book to read the story to figure out why they named the puppy Lucky, because it's a true story. A couple things in there were put in there, but the bulk of the book is all true. And his dream was to be a therapy dog. And we always have a dream, and we never want to give up on our dreams, do we?
Right.
And so anyways, I got in touch with Christy. I said, hey, Christy, I'm crying. I must have watched the interview like 9 times, cried, 3 minutes long. And I said, hey, I just saw your interview with Steve Hartman. I'd like to write a children's book about you, Moxie, and Lucky. Are you okay with that? She says, yeah, sure. Hung up. And I said, oh, my God, holy crap. What did I just do?
Right.
And I said to my husband, I told him what I did. And he says, oh, that's great. Never wrote a children's book. Of course, it's a whole different ball game because it's a hardcover. You have to hire a publisher, have to get an illustrator, had no clue what to do. And I said, I put myself out there on purpose and committed to Christy because I really wanted to do this and she was also at a point where she started committing and training puppies.
Right.
And her goal was to have a training facility. So we were kind of trolling along at the same time here. And I said, Danny, this is my mission. I pay tributes to veterans. I help Christy. And who doesn't love little puppies and dogs?
I love the illustration of the books is really good. Listen, before we get any further into this, people that are listening and now they've heard about the book, where can they get the book? Tell them where they can find the book and purchase the book.
Great. Thank you for asking. They can get it on Amazon. However, if you go to my website, and it's a little bit long, but it's unforgettablefacesandsstories.com. And I did that title so that I could have a good umbrella of all different topics under my website. So again, it's unforgettablefacesandsstories.com, because if you purchase through my website, obviously Amazon takes their share and more money goes to Christy's organization. And I also started a series of Lucky Says t-shirts, and the t-shirts are only available on my website, and it's Moxie and Lucky there. And it's like, Lucky says, don't give up on your dream. Lucky says it's not good to be anti-bullying. And Lucky says it's okay to be different. And the shirts are doing phenomenal. So I'm very excited.
Great. I love it. Now I see in the picture, and Christy's got such an incredible story. I've been fortunate enough to hear her story several times in the line of work that I do, and some of the shows that I've heard her on. Have not met her personally or whatnot, but I noticed in the book you actually got some pictures of her on the ice with Moxie by her side, and it looks like some public speaking events and stuff like that. How long did it take once you had the idea of writing this book? And you got Christy's, blessing to like, yeah, go ahead, do it. And it just seems like her. How long did it take you to do the book?
It took, let's see, I started in November 19, and the book actually came out, it was probably a year. And the book actually came out in May of last year because, COVID really kicked us back and did its thing. And plus my husband was diagnosed with lymphoma last February. So, I'm dropping my husband off for chemo at the side of the hospital, like the curb, like a puppy. I'm getting in my books and, going the publisher, doing all that. It was quite an experience. And with Christy, well, let me tell you the story about getting my illustrator, if you don't mind.
Yes.
I was interviewing illustrators, and I'm always concerned about the connect. I have to have the connect with person.
Of course.
To person. And because the book is all heart. So I interviewed about 6 different people. They were all women for whatever reason. And nobody just got to my heart. So I'm going through Facebook one night on a Saturday, and I see this woman. She had just done illustrations on the book, and her name is Susan Spellman, and she lives in Newburyport, Massachusetts, which is like 20 minutes from us. And I messaged her. I said, "Hey, Susan, I'm doing a children's book. I'd like to talk to you." She says, "Hey, I'm going to be in Portsmouth, New Hampshire tomorrow for a book signing of someone's book I just did. Come meet me there." So Danny and I go down to see her, and, you know, she's interacting with the kids. She's doing sketches. And I said, "I don't care how much she is. I don't care what I have to do. She's the one." I had to wait 3 to 4 months, Adam, for her. So that put me back. But you know what? The book was all in God's hands. It just rolled, and everything worked out. Incredible.
It is an amazing book. It's called Lucky, folks. If you're on, listen, I say this every week, but I got to remind you guys every now and then, if you are listening to the show right now, you're already on the internet. Open up another browser. Go to her website. It's unforgettableFacesAndStories.com. And I'll make sure I tag this, and this will be in the show notes and whatnot. We'll hyperlink it to make it easy for you guys as well. I got a couple more questions for you. What do you want to see this book do? What's next for the book? Where do you see this book going?
Well, there is a Lucky 2. It's all written.
Oh, okay.
It's the illustration. Susan will be starting them January 1st. And my long-term goal is to have an animated film. You know, due to the world we live in, it's crazy out there. And kids' interpretation of people and things needs some tender loving care, if you will. They, you know, and they need to be aware that it is okay to be different, and that bullying is wrong, and that you have to stick together and you have to help one another. And there's just so many life lessons in that book. And the whole book was actually done in New England, which I'm proud of that. And, you know, no offense, but we're all New England sports fans here, you know, all Boston oriented. Don't want to get into that. I can tell you every year we won the Super Bowl, the whole shebang. But anyways, so my long-term goal is to have an animated film, because Christy is so sports oriented, because she competes with, you know, on the sled hockey. She's trying out for the Olympics in Tokyo this year, and she helps so many people, Adam. So many kids she helps. It's just incredible. Her story needs to be told, and I think it would be phenomenal as an animated film. And I am working with that as we speak.
I don't disagree with you. I think it would be, you know, having read this, and it's, first off, I love the fact that it's an easy read. For guys like me that can't read, this was great. So, and it came with pictures and stuff, which I absolutely love. And it was one of those where it was just like, oh, it's a cute book. And then you're reading through it, and you're just like, you had mentioned there's a lot of life lessons in this book. Being different was one. The other one was bullying. There's an example of how some of the other puppies bullied Lucky and whatnot, and then overcoming all of it, and then tying into the purpose of helping others, right? Being a service dog, I look at, like, you know, this resonates home with me. I have 2 dogs myself that I've trained in it, and they are. I get sick to my stomach when I'm away from them for more than 3 days. You know, and it's, I don't know, it's this is such a great book. The book's called Lucky, little guy, big mission, and I think it's really cool that you tied Christy Gardner in with this, because she's such an amazing and an inspirational individual herself. I got one more question for you. Mm-hmm. You're on a show called The Decision Hour. Name a time in your life where your feet were on the line and you had to make that decision. What was it, and what was the atmosphere like at the time?
Great question. And I think going back to when I contacted Christy and I asked her the question if I could do the book about her, because I knew I had said before that, we go through life getting things, but our purpose in life is giving things. And I knew at that time when I made that decision that I had found my purpose, and I had made my decision to move towards my purpose and to achieve my purpose, if you will.
Absolutely. Oh, you know what? Thank you so much for sharing that. That's absolutely beautiful. Thank you. I appreciate you writing this book and others that I'm now going to have to check out. I appreciate your friendship as well, and taking time to come and speak to our listeners today.
Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure, Adam. Thank you for all you do. Your work is incredible, and you touch so many hearts. It's incredible.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Folks, that's all the time that we have today. The book is Lucky, Little Guy, Big Mission. We're going to have all the information in the show notes. Make sure you check it out. Before we let you go, make sure you also check out our parent network, Heroes Media Group. Go check out all the great podcast shows over there, articles. We are hiring, so if you're interested in being a content provider, or if you have a new podcast that you'd like up on our network, give us a shout. Send us an email at info@heroesmediagroup.com. Until next time, you've been listening to The Decision Hour.